All right, welcome back to the Ross Report, my friends. So good to have you back with us. We have guests in studio, but I want to tell you first of all about my friends over at MPW Properties because they have great locations all over Lafayette. You see those signs, you recognize those signs, those MPW signs, because they're in some of the best locations, and that's where your business or your professional office can be, right there in the best locations throughout Lafayette Parish and beyond. So all you have to do is give them a call, 232-1438. Ask for Jeff or any of the crew over there. Yeah, Jeff Landry, not that Jeff Landry, the other Jeff Landry at MPW Properties. He'll be glad to help you get into the location that's going to work best for you, including that fantastic bend at Settlers Trace. What a great little development that is. High visibility, lots of traffic in the middle, but not really subject to all the traffic on Ambassador Caffrey, but very close to it. So that would be a great retail location for you. All you have to do is call him, 232-1438, or check them out at mpwproperties.com. Delighted to have in studio with us our good friend David Stanley with the Police Association of Lafayette and Bridget Dugas, who is Communications Director.
Public Information Officer.
Public Information Officer. Thank you so much, Bridget. Good to have you all with us today.
Thank you.
All right. What's on the agenda now? We're talking about fixing the pay plan.
We're trying.
Yeah.
All right. How are we going to do that?
Well, we have an ordinance coming up for introduction on October 15th that would absolutely fix the pay plan. The goal is to get our starting pay to $40,000. We're not asking to be above other agencies. We're asking to be even with the other agencies in this parish.
Which, as you know, I think is crazy because you handle the lion's share of the calls in Lafayette Parish. So I think that's kind of reasonable of you all not to go for any more, but just to be at least on parity.
We just want to be able to compete with the local agencies.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're able to maintain our officers. That's
and
the goal here.
There are two other agencies in Lafayette Parish, right, that pay $40,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Broussard and Carencro are at $40,000 right now.
Imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's worth noting the chiefs all had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and they decided that every agency in Lafayette Parish needs to be at $40,000 within the next 2 years. So
it makes sense.
We can either do it now, or we can get left behind and let all the other agencies get there, and Lafayette will just be left behind.
Well, otherwise they'll be cannibalizing all the well-trained employees of Lafayette Police Department if we don't do something about
That's
that
right.
pay plan.
As our deputy chief said recently, it's an emergency. It's an emergency to keep our officers here and maintain public safety. That's our number one goal.
How do you all compare? How's Lafayette PD compare with other police departments in terms of training? Because I know you all have and qualifications. You have hiring qualifications that you all enforce. You have maybe a lot more training.
Absolutely,
that
our
you
training
enforce?
is top notch. Okay, in the area, a lot of agencies look to us for training. So we not only support other agencies with their training, but our officers are highly trained in every aspect that we can think of for public safety. So we maintain that and we stick to that. So in order to keep that, we need to keep officers.
All right. So just to qualify to be hired by Lafayette Police Department, what would a recruit need?
So to qualify, you actually only need a GED. Where we come in to get promoted to any supervisory level, you have to have college education. You cannot get promoted without some type of college education. It's so many hours for each promotion. That's the difference. We're the only one in the state that do that, including the state police.
One.
Really?
Yes.
Only one in the state?
Yes.
Yes, that
That's
requires,
amazing. Some college for an advancement.
And
like, what would the next step be? What are the different levels? Tell me that, first of all.
So you have PO, then corporal. Corporal is a non-supervisory position, doesn't require college. Then you have sergeant, which requires college, and so on from there. And as you get hired, it's more hours. I don't know the hours off the top of my head right now.
Yeah.
But it's so many hours for each promotion.
Okay, so you start out police officer.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, and then you go up from there, gradations of police officer?
corporal.
To corporal.
Corporal. Then it's what, sergeant, then
Yes, ma'am.
lieutenant, then captain?
Then a
Then
major.
Okay,
Mhm.
good deal. So at each level along the way, there's an increased responsibility for education.
Education.
Yes.
And what about like continuing education, like lawyers and doctors? They all have to go through additional training at various stages along the way.
So we offer a lot of in-house training for our guys. One thing that's different with us is you go to the academy. City spends however much the academy costs, plus they're paying a salary for that guy to go to the academy. It's thousands of dollars. A couple of months. I think they did a study, and about a 2-year guy to get them trained and on the road, it costs about $80,000.
Yikes.
$80,000 to $100,000 is the average cost
Yeah.
for a 2-year officer. Yes.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
To
And so that's the vulnerable
us.
stage, right?
For
That's the
us.
vulnerable stage because they're still in that lower rung of
Yes.
pay, and so they could easily be
Easily just
recruited.
leave or
Well, look,
recruited elsewhere,
we're
yeah.
losing our guys at 9 and 10 years. It's not just 1 and 2 years. Now, to give you an example of a 9 and 10 year guy, I'm going to use myself. I've been here going on 11 years. They put me through an initial phase training. They put me through training whenever I was in ATAC. That's again, you're paying for my salary, you're paying for the training. They put me through a handler's course whenever I went into K9. That was 6 weeks off the road training with the dog. They sent me to an instructor's course for K9. That's 2 months that I was
Thousands.
Wow.
in thousands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just one officer, you see how fast it builds.
So
I
you're
mean,
talking about hundreds of thousands when you get to
absolutely.
that level.
When you get to that level.
And that's where we're getting recruited from. These other agencies are seeing the type of training, and they're recruiting our guys that have this kind of training.
As we said before, we lost a 9-year, a 7-year, and a 5-year officer in this recent police academy for Louisiana State Police. So that shows you the thousands of dollars. And these officers were in specialized sections, as he mentioned, were trained in
Right.
specific areas, went to different schools. So thousands of dollars lost.
Any private business will tell you that is where the cost is, especially at the entry level, the training, et cetera, getting people up to speed. So keeping people who are well trained
Yes.
is definitely cost effective.
And that's why we were looking for a pay plan. It's one thing to get it up to 40,000, but you also have to have that pay plan that retains the guys that you've trained.
Exactly.
So the deputy chief has been saying we need a whole new pay plan. He's presented that, and now it's for the council to make it happen.
All right. I want to get into some details of that in a minute. We're going to take a break right now and get back to that, exactly how this pay plan will work and how it will be funded. We'll be right back on the Ross Report, talking with David Stanley, president of the Police Association of Lafayette, and Bridget Dugas, who is the public information officer with the Lafayette Police Department. I got to get that right. We'll be right back. 232-1542 if you have any questions. Welcome back to the Ross Report. If only we could talk about the things on the air that we talk about off the air, we'd be thrown off the air. So I'm happy to have, not them, me. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. Me, David Stanley and Bridget Dugas with LPD, and talking about the revised pay plan that they want. So let's talk about that pay plan a little bit, how it's structured. Without getting too technical, too detailed, but something that will let people know a lot of thought has gone into this.
Yes, we actually the police association paid for an outside group to design this pay plan. This wasn't taxpayer money. This was the police association that paid it and presented it to
So
the
your
administration.
dues paid for it.
Yes,
Sure.
our guys paid for this.
Well, imagine that. And God bless you for doing that. Nobody else would think of doing that. But anyway, thank you for doing it that way.
and I think that's important. We're like I said before, we're not trying to break the bank. We're just trying to get up to par with everybody. Guys want to build their career at Lafayette PD, and we're trying to give them the opportunity to do that.
Well, we demand professionalism from the police department. We should pay them professionally. I say the same thing about the teachers and anybody else whose pay is subject to a governmental entity.
And look, I mean, primary functions of government, public safety and infrastructure.
You bet.
Everything else is lanyard.
Yep.
So you got to find it from somewhere else to fund those two things.
Exactly. So how is it structured?
Well, just the meat and
know,
potatoes.
Yeah, without
It's-
getting too complicated.
The
I
pay
know.
plan is an additional $3.8 million, and that's total. It pays retirements, everything out of that design. So it would be an additional $3.8 million reoccurring for the city.
For the city. Yes.
And that would get our guys up to 40,000 in that starting pay, and compete with those ranks as they go on with their tenure.
Mhm.
Earlier this year, we got a 2% pass that is affected by the economy. So if the economy grows, the 2% passes. But
Which
we knew
also I thought was a really thoughtful thing for you all to do, not assuming that the economy would always grow, but
Right.
that there could be a time when it would shrink,
Potentially, yeah.
and you all were willing to
And
take
I
that
think that's
hit
why
if
the
it
public
did.
continues to be behind us. We're not trying to break the bank. I
Right,
think
we're
they
not.
see that. They see that we're not asking for additional taxes. We're saying, hey, this city has plenty enough money to fund these type of things. We're just going to have to reallocate from somewhere.
Exactly.
We don't believe that we need additional tax to fund this.
Have you
Not
all
at all.
interviewed the mayoral candidates, the candidates for mayor president?
We've interviewed
Yes,
a few.
we've had several of them asked to come speak to us. They have, and honestly, every single one of them agreed that we needed to get to $40,000.
Absolutely.
So there was not a single one that disagreed with that
Well, that's
point.
great. That's good to hear.
So
All right. So what's your timetable on this now?
October 15th, we go for introductory ordinance, and
we
then November 5th,
5th,
if
right.
the council introduces it.
Okay.
So, and the pay plan will go into effect 10 days after it passes.
How are the council votes lining up?
We feel very positive right now. We haven't heard back from all the councilmen. We feel very positive, but I think they realize that it's a necessity at this point. It's like the deputy chief described it
Yeah.
as an emergency.
Right.
You know, since January of last year, and I'm going to say approximate, since January of last year, we have lost over 50 officers.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
we're an
Right.
agency of 285. That's what, 20%?
That is stunning.
And we're
Yes.
set to lose an additional 5
We have 5
this
in
year.
the
We
hiring
lost
process
24
right
in
now.
2019 so far, but we have 5 in the hiring process with other agencies.
Oh, my
so
gosh.
it's just continuing to
It
increase.
goes back
This
to that
is a
training.
crisis. You're
Mhm.
absolutely right.
It's an emergency, just like the deputy chief said. It is.
Guys these other agencies see what kind of training we provide, and they want our guys. We have an officer, and I did get permission to use her name, Morgan Cola. She's been on Live PD. A lot of people know her. She's got a degree. She's a young lady, and she's in the hiring process right now with McKinney, Texas, because she can walk out of here and make an additional $30,000 starting over there. They're starting their guys at 72, I believe, a year.
Right.
So we're not asking for that.
We're not trying to compete with Texas.
And they don't even have a personal income tax over there.
Hmm.
So it counts even more.
It really counts.
and the cost of living in McKinney, Beaumont, these different places, it's not that much more than Lafayette.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Not much more.
So we're not saying, hey, let's get to that point. That
But
maybe
it's
would
a
break the bank
starting
right
point,
now.
yeah.
The economy's still slow in Louisiana, but we can get to that $40,000
Oh,
mark.
listen, I said that, reallocating dollars, looking at what is really important, what are your basic functions of government. And I've seen far too much attention paid to the non-essential functions
Mhm.
as or created functions of government that really should not be created,
Mhm.
using that term very advisedly, created.
Yes.
And so, anyway, I think that when you look at what's going on here, that you're right. It's ridiculous to lose that many people after
Right.
we've spent it. This would be fair to the taxpayers. We've spent all this money training these people, and
Yeah.
then
We're losing.
Thousands and
And,
thousands
we
of
focus and
dollars.
we maintain, we make sure our patrol division stays fully staffed. That's a goal of our administration to keep it. But the other sections are suffering. Your detectives and other
Right.
areas where we need officers.
Yeah.
We just can't put them there.
You asked last time about the narcotics coming in the city, and Bridget put something out about one of our guys, the same guy. He keeps finding these narcotics coming through our city. He
Mhm.
found $225,000 worth of ecstasy
225 just a day
this
or two
week.
ago. Mhm.
This guy is on patrol, and the goal is to get him where he's just focused on that on finding narcotics. They can't do it right now because
Yeah.
they don't have the manpower to
We
put him
can't.
there.
We can't take him from patrol where
And
he's needed.
There is documented cases of us not being able to get what's coming through our city because we don't have the guys that need to be where they need to be. This guy specifically, and we have that documented that other agencies have
Yeah.
made stops that we couldn't make because of that.
and this is somebody who
Absolutely.
develops a certain expertise over a period
Absolutely.
of time
He-
to be able to recognize
Exactly.
these
We train
patterns.
him.
He's
We train
trained.
him to do that. We sent him to courses all across the country, and we just can't fill
We
that spot
can't
because
fill
we
it,
don't have the
yeah.
manpower.
But he continues to do it on his time where he has a little bit of downtime. He's able to do these things, but we want him all the time,
Oh,
right?
bless him, yeah,
Yeah.
to be
To
that
stop
committed.
these drugs from coming into the city.
Exactly. Wayne, you have a question for Officer Stanley and Dugas?
I want a little bit more breakdown on this. They keep saying this 40,000 is like starting pay, but what if an officer's been there for 5 years, so he's not a starting pay? What is the additional cost for that? And when we say 40,000, is this for all the officers? I mean, this is your foot patrol, what's considered an officer, and what's considered a commander and a group chief, and all that.
Well, let's
I
let
want
him.
more detail.
Yeah. Okay, Wayne. Go ahead.
Okay, so we're talking about $40,000 starting pay. So a guy walking in the door, that's what he would start at. That's what the other agencies are at. That's what we're trying to get our guy at. He asked about a 5-year guy. Typically, a 5-year guy would be making corporal around that point.
Mhm.
And I think by that time you're probably around 50,000, somewhere's around there. So once you make corporal, you do increase as you go.
Mhm.
And then what was the other?
But that's
And
still
then he
not.
said,
That's
but
still,
you continue to increase
You
as
do.
you. But again,
Right.
the education. If they don't have the education
right.
needed to move on to the next rank, then you can't
One of
move
our biggest
forward.
problems was that corporal rank to the sergeant's rank. At corporal, you make corporal around 4.5 years,
Mhm.
and you was making sergeant at 16 to 17 years.
17
Oh
years.
yeah,
So there was
had a
no
big
raise.
nothing
gap.
in between.
So there was
Yes.
a 12% increase from
Wow.
corporal to sergeant, but
Uh-huh.
you didn't get that for 16,
All those
17 years,
seems
right?
unfair.
Yes,
Seems very unfair.
absolutely.
So now with the $40,000 starting pay, you'll continue to increase as
Right.
you know.
And the cost. Now Wayne said, does this cost include everything? You said the cost will
Yes, it
include
absolutely
everyone.
3.8 includes
everything.
everything.
Yeah.
And it is
Including the
incremental
retirement.
increase.
I think that's
It
really
does.
interesting.
Yes, it's built into that pay
It's
plan.
built
It's
into the
built
pay
into the
plan. That's right.
3.8.
How is compared to others unaccrued liability in your pension plan? How is yours? I mean, is it pretty much up to snuff, or is there a problem? There's a problem there
I
too.
think,
Every one of them has
No,
problems.
I think Empress is doing very well right now. Honestly, I don't know the technicalities of it, but from what I understand, it's doing very well.
Yeah.
They've
Okay.
made good investments.
Okay.
So.
Good. Yeah. No golf courses in Timbuktu.
No. Not that we
I
know of.
hope not.
Not that-
I mean,
yeah.
that's a problem with
Not
some of
that we
those
know of.
things. Anyway, do you see it ever converting like to a 401k or something like that, where you control your money and you control?
I don't see it ever
I don't
going to that direction.
I don't think the board of
Yeah.
Empress would ever go for that.
No.
I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, okay. So the introductory ordinance comes up the 15th of
October
October,
15th, and then yes.
and you're feeling
November.
pretty good about
We're
it.
feeling
Absolutely.
good. The council has always supported us. Anytime we've asked for anything that was needed for the department, they
Yeah.
have always supported us. So we think it's going to be the same thing.
Well,
They're
why
gonna
not?
support
I
us.
mean, gee whiz. I mean, I don't hear of anybody complaining about our police department. I really don't hear those complaints. Do you get a lot of complaints? I mean,
we get
besides
every-
the
we
normal
have-
stuff.
I mean, your normal generalized
but I'm
things
talking
that-
about big lawsuits and
No.
stuff
Our guys
like
are
that.
very professional.
Very
They and it's because the high expectation of training that we have. I think something that if we don't change something, we will start to have those problems. Because
Correct.
right now we have 58 guys on patrol that have 2 years or less. That's a high number.
That's a high number.
Yeah.
you
So
know.
we want to keep our experienced guys. It's the experienced guys that keep the liability down because they're helping these younger officers understand how to do policing.
Right.
They're
They've
out
been doing
there. They're
policing a
community
while.
policing. They know what to do. They know what to say.
Right.
They know how to treat people. So that's what we want to keep. We want to keep those experienced officers.
Okay, now I have to ask you about Live PD because some people say, "Why are they being so nice to those people?" But anyway, will that continue? I mean, are y'all still going to
That's a
do some
Bridget
live?
That,
PD?
yeah, that's
That's a
definitely
Bridget
that's
question.
definitely my baby. Yes, absolutely. We're going to continue at least throughout the end of the month. We are not sure at this point if we're going to continue next year, meaning in January.
Do you all get compensated for that?
No,
I
we
mean,
get no
the
type of
department,
compensation.
They don't pay. Anything?
No, they do not pay us. It was they contacted us and were interested in our department merely from hearing about our agency through the news, positive things.
So
and they
that's
just
low
wanted
cost
to-
programming for them.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
I think
So
y'all-
we'll see
y'all
what
should
happens.
Definitely
And it's a
ask
hot
for some
program.
money. It
We'll
is.
see
I
what
mean,
happens.
it's kind of fascinating because you start watching, you think, "Oh my God, it's hard to turn." It's like watching a train wreck.
You know what's amazing is
it's hard to turn
obviously
away.
that is what you see is a tiny percentage of
Tiny
what actually
percentage,
happens
right.
I
every
know.
single day with
I
our
know.
Even
guys.
though it's live, but you
And
still
I think
just get a
about
glimpse
that,
of
what you all deal with every single day. I can't even imagine. Who we have
Right.
calling in? We have somebody calling in. Okay, Timmy, go ahead. You're on the Ross Report. Go
Hey
ahead,
guys,
Timmy.
just a thought. I'm obviously not a CPA or anything, but if we, pensions are basically killing the state coffers and the unaccrued pensions, and people are obviously staying around longer and things like that. But if you had some type of hybrid on the retirement system, it would seem that you could incentivize on a yearly basis those salaries until you got where you wanted to be. Not touch anybody that's on the staff now, but just for new hires. And in what that hybrid retirement plan would look like, I don't know, but it just seems like if you could keep that number coming down every year, or at least not going back up, then you could actually increase the salary. What's y'all's thoughts on that? And I'll hang up and listen.
So sounds very technical for what I'm
Right.
used to, but I'll say this.
Timmy can get into the weeds on
Yeah.
this. Timmy,
Timmy,
just
come
think-
the retirement is governed by state legislation, right?
Correct.
Right.
So any change to retirement would be on a state level.
Correct.
Right
now, this
now,
is the municipal pension plan, municipal,
Yeah,
Yes, that's what we're
public
under.
employees.
Public employees.
actually, it's
MPERS.
MPERS, Municipal
Emperor
Police Employee Retirement System.
Okay.
So, what we need to do is get something right now to stop to stop this crisis that we
Right,
have.
right.
Get these guys.
This is a short-term emergency, and
this
this is a
Absolutely.
fix for
yes,
that.
correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, if there's a long-term fix to the retirement that the public can get behind and we can get behind and everybody can work towards,
Then let us know.
we'd
we'll
absolutely
back
be
it.
open to
Let me
listening.
tell you what,
absolutely.
that person who could do the long-term fix to our unfunded
Yes.
accrued liability, that would be a genius out there somewhere, and I don't think they exist. Matt, go ahead. You're on the Ross Report with David Stanley and Bridget Dugas.
Hi, David and Bridget. I wanted to call just to give a personal testimony about what's going on, and then to let you know what I did today about it. But basically, my son, when he was in high school, at Lafayette High School, he went through the Lafayette Police Department's Explorer program, volunteer program where they help give on-the-job type training to students to see if that's their vocation, if they have that desire to be in law enforcement. My dad was in law enforcement, and my son has kind of acquired that same calling. But the problem is he's in the Army National Guard. He's in criminal justice at UL right now. He's looking at joining the Lafayette Police Department because he really enjoyed his time spent with them. He says that they're the best trained in the state, which goes along with what you're saying. But he's looking at the starting pay as well, and it's something that I think really needs to increase because a lot of people that are looking at the Lafayette Police Department are saying, well, I'll go there and spend about 5 years, get all the good training that I need, but then if they don't increase their pay, I might have to move on to a different agency. And who can blame them? So that's why they're losing so many people. And so I called, they've been giving out the numbers on Facebook and stuff of the different council members, which I appreciate. I shared that on my Facebook account as well. And I called my council member, Nakan, today to let him know that, hey, I'm voting for you this Saturday, but hey, by the way, this is my number one issue. And I think that it's a concern. We need to get our police officers paid
You bet. Matt, what a great thing to
That's
do.
awesome.
Take an action like
Absolutely.
that.
Matt, I think you hit the nail on the head.
Absolutely,
We
Matt.
want our kids staying in Lafayette. We don't want to have to send them to Texas to work just so they can have a career. And I appreciate your support. I do see you following us all the time, and I see you sharing
Yes.
all our stuff, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's citizens of
you're
the
welcome.
citizens like Matt that makes all the difference and
Right.
keep us going. Even though we're going through this, look, we're still going to provide what we're supposed to provide, and that's public
Exactly.
safety.
Well, I appreciate both of you coming in today. Where's your Facebook page? Give them information about how they can contact.
We are the Police Association of Lafayette. We're staying on top of this right now. If you follow us, talk to the councilman, email them, call them, let them know you support this pay plan. We would really appreciate it.
Thanks to both of you for coming in, and thanks for your service to our community. David Stanley, President of the Police Association of Lafayette, and Bridget Dugas, Public Information Officer. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
for
much.
having
so
us.
much
We
for having
appreciate
us.
it.
Good luck
Thank
to
you.
both of you. And remember, you can contact your council person right now and up until October 15th. Now, they're going to know by October 12th whether they're going to be in there or not, and it shouldn't have any effect whatever on whether they vote for this. This is the right thing to do. And I wouldn't say that if I didn't believe it. So thanks to both of you. We'll be right back on the Ross Report. 232-1542. You want to get in on the conversation. Stay with us.